Okay, can you see my slides?
Affirmative, ma'am.
All right, that's perfect. Okay, so just give me a minute. All right, hi everybody. Thank you very much for affirming that. Hi everybody. Good evening. My name is Victoria Udoh. As Ms. Lillian has introduced me, I am the founder of the Budding Lawyer Space. It is a networking hub in Nigeria that is centered on helping young lawyers, budding lawyers, law students still in school, undergraduates, those who just recently graduated, those who are in law school, to get basic principles of the law, to get exposed to different opportunities that would help them grow. That is why this initiative to discuss this at this webinar is one that I value a lot. So I want to say a big thank you to the African Law Students Association for inviting me for this webinar. And I hope I will be able to do justice to the topic. Okay, so why don't we just go right into it? Because I believe I have limited time and I have a whole lot to say. So our topic, as you can see from the slide, is embracing the legal future post-COVID data security. And it's a very interesting topic because data security is something that is not talked about enough. I mean, it's something that affects a lot of people, but very few people talk about it, right? So most of us here are familiar with the two-step verification on WhatsApp. And before I move forward, I would really love this class to be an interactive one. So when I ask questions, please feel free to respond in the comment box so that we maintain orderliness. Just you can answer to the questions or drop comments about what I'm saying in the chat box so we flow together. So how many of us are familiar with the WhatsApp two-step verification? I mean, when you go to your WhatsApp, there's a two-step verification that WhatsApp asks you to do to help you protect your data. That is one of the things that we're going to be, yes, thank you very much, Ms. Precious Ifoma. That's one of the things that we're going to be looking at today, how various organizations, how various platforms are very conscious about data security. Okay, so for our course outline for today, by the end of the webinar, these are the things you must have learned, that data is an invaluable asset to everyone. We're going to examine the pre-COVID era and the post-COVID era. We're going to know what data security is, various types of data security mechanisms, and we're going to consider cyber attacks and data security in the legal profession. So I'll crave your indulgence, Ms. Lane, if once is 5 minutes or 10 minutes to my 30 minutes elapsing, please kindly notify me so that I can work with that time. Okay, so our introduction. So with the global pandemic and the recent reliance on technology, data threats and data security is no longer something we just talk about. I mean, there's a statistics by the federal agents in 2019 that said that international internet crime reports of over $3.5 billion based on data theft that have been done in various organizations in the US just in 2019. In 2020, there was about 7 million data compromise. In 2022, this year, there has been about 10 million passwords that have become public due to data breaches that have been done to both individuals and companies. That's to tell you that with the recent use of technology that a lot of people were very familiar with, we're also dealing with the ill sides of this technology, and that is cyber attacks, data fraud, online theft, and name them. All these things are crimes being committed on the internet daily. And when we talk about this, it's because data, like we said, is a very invaluable asset. Your name, your age, where you're born, what you do for a living, your account number, your country code, any data that relates to you is very, very important. And we know that information is a very, very invaluable asset to a lot of people. And this information is what rules the world. I mean, lack of information would definitely turn our world upside down. We basically wouldn't exist if we have no information as to how we are living our lives as individuals or how the world is going. If you didn't have information as to how the law operates, you won't call yourself a law student who understands the basic precepts of the law. So information is very vital. And bits of information or bits of data is what forms information, either personal data, company data, government data, all this form part of the big, the big data up there that a lot of people relate with. And with the pre-COVID and post-COVID era that we're going to be reviewing in the legal profession, you're going to see this drift of change that has led to an increase in cybersecurity attacks in the legal profession and in government agencies. Right. So as law students here, I believe we already understand the notion behind the legal profession. I mean, we're students of a very noble and respected profession. We study the law, we know the law, we uphold the law, and we do interpret the law. In certain circumstances, we execute the law, and in certain circumstances, we are lawmakers. So we basically, our profession revolves around the law, and no country can exist without the law. That is to show you how important the legal profession is. Now, where there is a threat to the data involved in the legal profession, we're not just talking about law, we're talking about a lawyer dealing with his clients, a company dealing with their staffs. When there is a threat, it calls for an urgent discussion, it calls for an urgent measure to handle such threats. Now, with the pandemic, everyone had resorted to the online activities. Let's examine what the pre-COVID era was for us. So as you can see from the slides, better. So as you can see from the slide, in the pre-COVID era, right, most employees work from offices. People go to their offices, they do jobs remotely, like the work on their system, the work with either papers, and a lot of us know the archaic legal profession we had. It was library, books, textbooks, but now you have online devices. You have Google, you have Lawpedia, you have Law Pavilion, name it. There are numerous research engines that we go on. And in the pre-COVID era, it was more of a basic hand-to-hand use of information. If you had a textbook that covered a particular area of law, that textbook works for you. If you have a judgment, a hard copy of a judgment, that's what you're going to use to present your case in court. A lot of people go to national libraries, big libraries that have all these things in stock to access information that they will use for their case, either as lawyers or, the company trying to gather data for their members. Even in the pre-COVID era, we're talking as far back as 10 years ago, a lot of companies still had paperback sheets that contain information about their employees. I mean, you have a form filled as an employee, your name, your social status, your marriage status, members of your family, your account details in which the company will be paying their money into when they're paying your salary, your contact details. Some companies go as far as asking you for your international passport details, your national identity number. All those things are included in that sheet. And then the company gathers all the sheets of the employees and puts it in a file somewhere in their cabinet. So this was like, the past experience that we had in the legal profession. But then with the use of, with the pandemic, a lot of people got to realize that, we have to go online. The pandemic came with country lockdowns all across Africa, all across the world, basically. A lot of countries were on lockdown for months. Movements between countries or between states within countries was very, very hard. And because of this, right, a lot of companies resorted to using online because, it's the best way to relate. So we start from the very basic one. Let's say a company creates a group chat, a WhatsApp group chat, or a Telegram chat, or they create, what do you call it? There's this app that is used, a Microsoft Teams, app that is used to create an avenue for all employees in a firm to discuss. So you have the portion where you can talk to the HR, you have the portion where you can directly relate to your colleagues, then you have the part of that same app where you can deal on your personal dealings, right? The Microsoft Teams. But then bringing our legal profession and our data online exposed us to more cyber attacks or potential cyber attacks that would affect us. Now, another thing we need to consider is in the pre-COVID era, right? In the pre-COVID era, there was a control of the amount of data that staffs use. And so you have the recent thing of let's work from home. For instance, I think on Monday this week, I didn't go to work. I had to work from home. So I had to connect to the office website to do my job. Now, the thing is that with the pre-COVID era, that wasn't possible. I had to go, you have to go to the office, you have to work with the office system. You had to submit all your filings to the office system. But now with the post-COVID era that everything is online and a lot of employees of different companies and even lawyers are visiting different websites and different online platforms, there's exposure to different websites that could potentially attack your company. What do I mean? A lot of us are familiar with YouTube, which other video apps, TikTok, and the rest of them. So you notice that when you're scrolling through these applications, you see ads, right? Advertisements of different companies. If you use certain websites, you will see pop-up ads that come. They ask you if you want notifications from them. They would ask you if you want to subscribe to their newsletter, you want to get more updates on the particular thing you're researching on. And most of us, we, clear minds and without thinking too much about it, we just click accept and we move on with it. We don't know that we're giving the people that created that ad, as assuming the ad was created to infiltrate someone's system, we're giving those people access to our local area network. And it's even worse if this local area network is something used by a company or an organization. Then you give the operator of a particular ad or website access to data that is uploaded by your company or by you as a person. Now, in the pre-COVID era, the traditional system of filing matters in court as lawyers, representing your clients, giving legal advice, and doing legal research to meet the needs of your client. That was, what we did basically, land matter and, life-to-life thing. However, all this changed because a lot of lawyers, law firms, and organizations have seen the silver lining that comes with technology. Judicial institutes, courts now operate online. Last week, recently, this is in Nigeria now, in Port Harcourt, the judicial system in Port Harcourt, some of the states in Nigeria, Port Harcourt, Lagos, Abuja, now we do e-filing system. So a client comes to you and tells you, this is what I want to do. I have disputes between I and my landlord, or I have dispute between I and another person, and I want you to give me advice on this. And by the time you've advised your client says, I want to opt for litigation. Let's go to court. Let's take the matter to court. And, as lawyers, you begin to prepare documents, evidence. You begin to write your summons. You begin to start your statement of claim. You begin to write your list of witnesses. You begin to gather evidence. And then you put it in a file, right? In the pre-COVID era, you take that file to court. You go to the registrar, or you go to whosoever is in charge of receiving those files, and you file it. You pay your filing fees, you go to the bank, pay your filing fees, you get your receipt, then you wait to be given a call updates for where your matter will be heard or where your matter will be listed, and then you go to court and your matter continues to whenever you get the judgment. And even when you receive a judgment or when you're filing further evidence, in that case, you have to go to court to do it. But it would interest you to know that in recent times, I can sit here at home, right, and open the judicial, Nigerian judicial, depending on the state I'm working with. So I'm taking Port Harcourt, which is my jurisdiction, for instance. So the Nigerian judicial system of Port Harcourt. And I go there and I see an icon that says, file a matter or new matter or something like that. And then I click on it. And then it asks me what the matter is for, or what the state of the cause of motion or cause of action is, the parties involved. And I list all those things and it asks me to submit the files. So all I do is take a flash drive. I scan the documents that I had previously collected from my clients. I scan those documents and then let me see. I think I have an example here. Yeah, so I take a flash drive like this, right? And so I scan all the documents into the flash drive. I put the flash drive on my system. I upload those documents from this flash drive onto the website, and then I make submissions. And so the portal receives whatever document I sent and assigns me a hearing date for my matter. This is something that we couldn't experience pre-COVID era. And this is because pre-COVID, we never really had a cause of national, disturbance that made people realize that these day-to-day activities of going to the office and relating with people face-to-face can be affected by, a global pandemic. And so when there is technology that exists for you, everybody had to resort to that. And the legal profession was not left out of that. And, because of these things, most websites that you have, for instance, that judicial system, they ask you for your name, the law firm you're working for, or if you're an independent counsel, they ask you for your call number. As a lawyer, you have your call number, the year you were called, and where you're practicing now. They ask you for all those information. And sometimes you include your email address and your contact details in case the court register wants to reach out to you to ask you certain questions. Now, these data, assuming a cybercrime expert goes online and sees this data, they can penetrate it, get your data, and misuse it. So the exposure to online technology and these platforms also exposes us to potential threats from cyber thieves. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next era since we have examined the pre and post-COVID era. So if you have any questions, please don't fail to draw my attention to it. Okay, so the question is, what changed? What changed after the pre-COVID era? What exactly changed? And I'm certain I have, highlighted some of these things in my discussion so far. But let's start with the one on the slide now. With changes to work patterns and styles, such as the move to remote working, there is no longer scope for easy peer review and questions. Right? Employees are making critical security decisions on their own and may not reach out to colleagues to ask simple questions such as, does this email look strange to you? So now there's this form of hacking that a professional hacker sends you an email with a link on it and asks you to click that link, right? And then you hit the link. Once you click the link, you've given them access to operate your email. And it would even be worse if you are currently working on the office email, the official email that you have for your office, and you hit that link, that's fishy email. So most of us see all those emails are sent to our spam box or sent to us from different websites that we either consciously or unconsciously had subscribed to. Please do not hit on those links. You're giving potential hackers a platform to hack into your company or your personal data, and they can use this data to manipulate anything. So the adaptation to technology was no longer an option, as only lawyers and professionals acquainted with the use of technology could meet the needs of their clients. And with the legal profession is not just the only industry moving online. You have different companies, tech companies, that are looking for lawyers that will potentially advise them on the liabilities. As lawyers, we look for the liabilities that will be there to protect the interest of our clients. So how do you effectively advise your clients as a law student when you become a lawyer? How do you effectively give your clients legal advice when you have no knowledge of the importance of data security, or you have no knowledge of online technology being used these days? A lot of us think being a cake is the trend. Oh, I love being old school. I just want to be old school. No, please. You would not have the avenue to advise your clients properly if you're not acquainted with the trends in the online space. Now, this has posed more problems to lawyers who have little or no knowledge and have been forced to use technology for their services, giving them little or no option to learn about the dangers of some of these websites or protecting their data or exchanging their data with certain individuals. Because the pandemic just came in, it wasn't something that was premeditated. It's not like, oh, in 2024 or in 2020, we're going to have a pandemic, so everybody start going online, prepare yourself. No, it wasn't like that. It caught us off guard. And most companies that didn't have any online operation had to suffer, from the economic downturn that came with the global pandemic. All right, so what is data security? We've talked about the pre-COVID and the post-COVID era in the legal profession. What is data security? I've already explained that data is very important and keeping your data safe is important. Let us critically analyze data security. If you're with me, please kindly type in the box, I'm here with you, or with you, anyone, I'm here, it's fine. So quickly drop a comment in the box, let me know that we are following. You can just type I'm with you, or you can type I'm here, so we can, yes, thank you very much, Mr. James. Thank you so much. All right. So thank you so much. Let's move on to data security. Now, data security is the practice of protecting digital information from unauthorized access, corruption, or theft throughout its entire life cycle. Now, when we talk about life cycle, we talk about from when you start operating on the data to when you store it on your device, to when you transfer it to a third party, or to when the third party opens it and transfer it back to you. The whole process and life cycle of that particular information, and protecting it from unauthorized access by any person you don't want it to, to have access to, is called data security. It is a concept that encompasses every aspect of information security, from physical security of hardware and storage devices to administrative and access controls, as well as logical security of software application. It also includes organizational policies and procedures. Later in our talk, I'm going to explain what these organizational policies and procedures entails. Now, data security involves deploying tools and technologies that enhance the organization's visibility into where its critical data resides and how it is used. Ideally, these tools should be able to apply protection. What are these protection? Encryption, data masking, redaction of sensitive files, and should automate reporting to streamline audits and adhering to regulatory requirements. So when we talk, to break this down in simple English, it is you have a data, your company data is online. Let's assume this is the online platform. This is a website, right? There's a website called HIPAA, HIPAA. We're going to talk about HIPAA very soon. So HIPAA is a software, and you go on HIPAA as a lawyer, and you, as an organization, you're working with a firm, and you upload all the company data on that website. The names of your employees, their house addresses, their national identity numbers, their account details, and all the information you have concerning members of your firm or your clients that you're relating with, each of your clients, because as professionals, we ought to keep records of all our transactions, right? So you go on this website to upload everything. Now, data security is initiating or involving tools that would potentially and securely protect this data from being accessed by a third party. So you can either do that by data encryption, you can either do that by backup of the data, you can either do that by installing a software that will prevent unauthorized access of a third party. So data security is basically securing this, putting bodyguards around this so that any other person doesn't have access to it, except you or the people, your employees or people you've given direct access to. So now let's talk about the types of data security. What are the types of data security? Let's talk about encryption. Encryption is the most popular form of data security. Encryption basically is using an algorithm to transform normal text characters into unreadable formats. So most of us, when we open a particular website, you go to a part of the website where most things are not, you don't understand what's there. It's either it's written in, in gibberish, basically. To you, it's gibberish. But that is an algorithm written for only authorized members that have access to edit or inflict changes on that particular website. To you, as someone who has no access, it looks like gibberish because it is, an unreadable format of a particular file. But those who have access to it just have to input a code, and it makes more sense to them, right? So for a company, once you've uploaded your details, or as an individual, once you've uploaded your client's details or your personal details to a particular website, all you have to do is create an algorithm that would secure it for you. Luckily, most of us as law students, we don't know how to write algorithms, right? Yes, James, I'll respond to your question soon. We don't know how to write algorithms because, we are lawyers, and that's not our expertise. There are particular softwares that cover that algorithm for you. All you have to do is ensure that you're logged on, you attach that software on your system, or you're operating with that particular software. Now, the second type of data security is data erasure. Now, this is more secure than standard data wiping because data erasure uses a software to completely override data on any storage device. It verifies that the data is unrecoverable. Most used data can be used to affect a company. Now, you've dealt with a client, and let's say your client's estate, you've read the will to their estate, and certain sensitive data that was there, you want to delete them so that you don't have, third parties don't have access to it, or you put it in a flash or in a hardware, and you want to delete it entirely from that particular hardware that you put it on, using data erasure software is the best. Most of us, we have our phones where you delete a thing and it sends it to recycle bin, and we don't think about it. We think it's been deleted. You don't know that you can go back to your recycle bin and retract, that particular data that you had deleted. Data erasure softwares, data erasure inclined software, delete it permanently such that you have no access to it. No third party has access to it. It's deleted and gone forever. That file doesn't exist anymore. Now, data masking, like the name, is like the covering, right? Representing that particular data to be something else. You might go on a website and see a logo and think it's a mere logo. But for those that created that website, that is a bunch of information that they want people that understand it to have access to, right? By masking data, organizations can allow teams to develop applications or train people using real data. It masks personal identifiable information where necessary, so that developments can occur in environments that they are complaints, right? So most people that use this are people that complain of sexual harassment, things like Anonymous. Most of you are very familiar with that software that allows you send messages anonymously. So that's a type of data masking software that you can use if you want to communicate with your team members, but you don't want anybody to have access to the members that are included in that environment or in that group. Now, the last one is backup and recovery. That is resiliency. Every company, every individual, as an individual, I advise you, please always have a backup plan. The same way a lot of people have backup generators, backup systems, you have your power bank in case there's no light, things like that. Always have a backup plan for all your data, even as a person. Your information concerning your students, your results in school, your student's ID card, the receipts of your school fees, all the information you have, your birth certificate, your local government origin, all those data that you have, right? Make sure you have them in different hardwares that you have successfully encrypted or masked, so that people don't have access to them. But make sure you always have a backup plan in case a particular system fails you, you don't go stranded. Backup and recovery plans, known as resiliency, are one of the best forms of data security. So these are a few of the types of data security that we have. Now, embracing the legal future data security. We've talked about the different types. Let's talk about this data security in the legal profession. Let's see. Miss Lillian, can you tell me how many more minutes I have so that I know if I should speed up or not? Okay, while we're waiting for that, let's just go ahead. So embracing the legal future data security. What does it benefit you to have good sufficient knowledge of data security and apply them? One, you get exposed to trends in the legal profession. For instance, this data security is not an area that a lot of people spoke about previously. And with the advent of technology, let's not even say technology existed way before now, but with the increased knowledge of the features of technology, we are now exposed to new trends in the legal profession. Without softwares like Legalpedia, Lawpedia, Law Pavilion, and most of the research, applications we have, most of us wouldn't have good exposure to different areas of law and would not be able to meet our clients' services. Most of us know how restricted our classroom learning is, right? The online platform gives you an opportunity to gain more knowledge and access more knowledge or information on a particular area. So you get exposed to trends. The tech industry is an evolving industry right now. It's evolutionary, right? A lot of people are going into it to understand what this online platform that we lawyers and different government organizations and agencies are getting familiar with. They're trying to understand how it operates. So it gives you an edge over your colleagues. It gives you wide research results. Most of these online platforms, they give you wide research results, and information is the most valuable asset anyone can ask for. So once you have this research results, you're able to improve your clientele service, which is the third thing. Improve your clientele service. For you as a person, you gain more knowledge, you have access to various data on the internet. And the pretty thing about online technology, or technology as a whole, or research software as a whole, is that you get exposed to things you ordinarily wouldn't have gotten exposed to if this technology did not exist. We wouldn't be having this meeting if a platform as Zoom or Google Meet or Teams Meets or whatever the other platforms you have, Skype and the rest, did not exist. This is because we're advancing continuously. And if you don't keep up with the trends as a lawyer, you would be left behind. You would definitely be left behind. Now, trainings in the tech areas affecting our legal profession. A lot of lawyers need to be trained. A lot of people need to have knowledge on what data security is. Don't seclude yourself, or don't confine yourself to just the law, litigation, arbitration, maritime law, aviation laws, and all the other laws we offer in our various universities, various colleges and institutions. Don't just restrict yourself to that. Expose your mind. Take on technology-related courses, UI, UX, cybersecurity courses, data security courses, online protection courses, right? What do you? This fintech courses, right? Take on those courses. Get knowledge on what's happening in the technology space, because one of the discussions a lot of lawyers are engaged in now, which has become either a thing of fear for people or some form of encouragement, is that one day robots might replace us. Robots might be doing our job someday. If you're not keeping up with it, most law firms don't admit or don't employ lawyers who have no basic technical know-how. You don't know how to operate a particular software. You don't even know how to operate Microsoft Word or Microsoft applications. You don't know how to communicate with people online. You can't effectively be a part of or participate in a Microsoft Teams meeting simply because you felt you're not interested in things like that. I don't think any law firm recently would be interested in hiring you, because they want people who are updated with the trends. Now, examples of data security technologies include backups, data masking, and data erasure, like we talked about. A key data security technology measure is encryption. Like I told you, it's the best of the best, right? Well-digital data, software or hardware, and hard drives are encrypted and therefore rendered unreadable to unauthorized users and hackers. Lawyers can encrypt their customers' data through these methods, and only them have access to the real data in real time. So this is one of the best ways to secure your data. And I'm certain most of you are like, how do I encrypt my data? How do I do this? My dear, there's a software called Keeper, and there's a PCI software too that covers all these things. All you need to do is go on the internet and learn these things. You don't just sit and happen to have it. Now, there's a software that lets you, encrypt your data. So all you have to do is get any software most of this software aligned to industries and what you want to do. For instance, HIPAA is peculiar to patient hospital works. So if you have a patient record, most people that work in the hospital are people that use HIPAA because it covers patient files. A typical example of an organization that uses HIPAA is Netflix. And I'm certain a lot of people are familiar with Netflix. Netflix uses HIPAA to encrypt most of its data it doesn't want people to have access to. So imagine if a hacker had access to Netflix. And then one day you log onto your Netflix application, you want to see a movie, and then you find out that someone has hacked into Netflix and is now publishing pornographic videos. Netflix wasn't created as a porn site. But because someone has hacked it, now the only thing you're seeing on Netflix is pornographic videos. That's an example of what potential hackers can do. So what Netflix does is install part of the software that Netflix has is this HIPAA, because HIPAA encrypts data and ensure that no other person has access to their information. On Netflix, you provide your account details. I mean, for a lot of us that are subscribed to it, without whatever sum you're paying, that's card details, that your card number that you provide there. It can be exposed to anybody. Anybody can get that details and get into your account, hack into your account, and get all your money. Your email address is there too. People can go into your emails, plant incriminating emails there, and you begin to become target of investigation of your government and different things that can happen if potential hackers have access to Netflix. But because HIPAA is a trustworthy and reliable software, Netflix uses HIPAA to protect the information given by its users. Now, lawyers also have the avenue to properly advise government agencies and company on data security methods that can help secure company data. But this can only be done if law students like us can have the ability to, have good knowledge on this data security and how to make good use of it. And so we are concluding. In conclusion, what have we said so far? Data security safeguards digital data from unwanted access, corruption, or theft. It is a notion that imparts physical security to hardware and software devices and covers all aspects of information security. It also imparts administrative and access controls and logical security of software applications. The best way to protect your data includes improve your company and personal password. This is something I would like to talk about because it affects everybody. A lot of us use one password for the same password you use for your email, the same password you use for your business email, your company email is the same password you use for your Netflix account, it's the same password you use for your online business, it's the same password you use for virtually everything that concerns you. That is very risky. Using the same password is a security risk because once the person has figured out the password to your email, they can easily figure out the password to your banking details, that have access to your banking details and other data that you have secured online. So what is the feature of a good password? Most times when we go on different sites, like recently I logged onto Twitter. When I was trying to get onto Twitter, I had to fill in an information about my password. And so there's this little indication where they tell you your password must be at least 8 characters long. The password must include upper and lower cases. The password must include numbers and non-alphabetic characters. Your password must be this. Those are characteristics of a good password. And never use one password for the same thing. It's very, very important that you have a password that uses, that it's different for the different things that you have to do as an individual. So make sure that your password is 8 characters long. It uses upper and lower cases. It has non-alphabetic characters and it's unique and relates to only you. Don't use your birth date as your bank code. Anybody can guess that. Try and use something more abstract. Try and use either the day you were called to your bar, the day I can give you tips on how to do that. The day your favorite artist debuted, the day that something unique happened in your life. It's just you and you alone that knows that detail. So don't try and use the same 200145 for your Twitter account, your Instagram account, your Facebook account, your Zoom account, all through. Everyone or a potential hacker can figure it out and have access to your data, and that can be very dangerous, right? So the next thing is encrypt your data at all times, and there are different forms of data standards you can use. Like I said, all these are softwares that you can download or you can get to help you encrypt your data. So you have the advanced encryption standard. This one is basically used by US firms. It's mostly used by US and client companies, right? You have the secure socket layer, the SSL. You have the pretty good privacy. The pretty good privacy is an encryption that most individuals, like you and I, not companies related, use because it's more relatable to us as individuals. Now, the next thing you need to know is use data security compliance softwares for your organizations like HIPAA, like PCI. Make sure that if you're putting members of your organization on an online platform, ensure that the data is secure. And lastly, enforce strong security standard. Before I say my talk, I asked how many of us are familiar with the WhatsApp verification code. WhatsApp was very smart in doing that because there was a time between 2018 to this year that there was a very tremendous rise in WhatsApp hack, and they had to introduce a 2-step verification that would help you. So without those codes that you input, nobody can have access to your WhatsApp and start sending people messages like help, I can't do this, I can't do that, I need your help, and things like that. So please, when you see things like that, ensure that you make good advantage of things like that. Ensure that your WhatsApp is duly verified. Ensure that your Twitter account is verified, and all other things that have your personal details. Ensure that your Netflix account too is verified, and you don't update your information too much so that people don't have access to it as frequent as people would. So that is the end of our discussion right now. I believe my 30 minutes exhausted, and I would entertain questions. Miss Lillian or Mr. James, I don't know who is going to moderate the question and answer session, but I believe we have some questions in the chat box that I can address. Okay, let's see. If you have questions, please feel free to drop them. Miss Lillian, are you there?
I'm here, Miss Victoria. It's okay. I can just read through the questions for you.
Yes, Please go ahead. All right, Lillian, are you there? Because I don't think I can hear you. Is it just me? Can you guys hear me? If you can hear me, please just put in the chat box.
I can hear you.
Okay. So I think there's a question from James in the chat box.
Okay, let me just read it. Okay, so James' question says, please do or does cookies have any potential threat to data security?
That's a very nice question, James. And yes, they do. I wish I could give you a practical example right now, but let's see. There's an app I downloaded today on my laptop, and that app kept on popping up cookies and things like that. Yes, they do. Cookies pose a form of potential threat to your data security. Now, most people, as you know, or rather, most websites that you know have cookies that you have to click on accept or do not accept cookies or not. I haven't had a personal encounter where accepting a cookie affected me. But before you do that, in fact, I advise that you don't. But the thing about it is that most websites don't allow you access their website if you do not accept the cookies. That's the thing, because it's their form of making money. It's their form of increasing traffic on their website and making money by virtue of being owners of that particular website. So if it's a 50-50 thing, they might not. But honestly, they have access to the data that you're providing on that particular website. So if it's a very sensitive data that you're providing on the website that you're visiting, please do not accept the cookies. Don't. A lot of people just see cookies and click because you want to get information. Because you want to get information on that particular website, you just go straight to click and accept cookies, and then you just start. You don't even think about the repercussion that these cookies you're clicking that gives you access to this website has third-party contracts. That means that these people can find out your location and find out different information about you at the same time. So it's very important that you don't just click on any cookies you see, except, like I said, it's very important that you visit that website and the data you're providing is limited. Maybe the data you're providing is just your name, right? You can click on it without having too much thought about it. But I generally advise that you don't. If the website says you must accept cookies before you operate it, please just try and look for other means of making use of the website. So that's my answer to you, James. Yes, cookies do present potential threats to data security. Thank you very much, Hannah.
Okay, thank you. It looks like James is satisfied with his answer. I have a few questions that were sent in my inbox. I'll just begin with the first question, then I'll interchange it with a question that is sent to everyone here. So a question says, if someone leaks my data to the public to supposedly expose any corruption, will it be my data privacy breach, or would the court consider a substantial public interest with regard to that?
Okay, so I believe this question, the answer to this question varies by the jurisdiction. And as a Nigerian, I would answer based on the Nigerian perspective, right? So any information that is for public interest, right, that would either save the life of someone or prevent somebody's company going through surmountable loss, the law would overlook where the source of this information came from. So it's a question of what is the definition of public interest in your particular jurisdiction? What does the law recognize as public interest? Is it something that has to do with the lives of people, or the life of an organization? Is it a legal person that's involved, or is it not a legal person that is involved? So if someone leaks your data to expose corruption, the court would definitely look at the source of the evidence that is being presented to them. So this source of corruption, is it one that would potentially affect the lives of millions of people? So let's give, for instance, a practical, let's say most of the scenarios we see in a movie, right? There is a side agent within a government agency that finds out that the Senate of a particular government wants to deploy nukes to another country, or wants to attack another country in the disguise of something else, and leaks that information to the president or to the appropriate authority in charge of that particular issue. At the present time, the source of that information would not be an issue. It would be, how can we potentially decrease this threat that is being, that this potential threat in our country? But now, if someone comes to my email, hacks my email, and sees a conversation between me and, let's say, another colleague of mine as to how we want to steal company funds, that's also public interest. I'm trying to look for a very minimal one. So, like I said, it depends on what public interest is in your jurisdiction. For some countries, or should I say for some jurisdictions, where you got the email is very important. I mean, evidence not obtained legally can stand a chance of making a case to be struck out from courts. So it's very important that if you're obtaining information about corruption, ensure that your source is valid and you did not obtain that evidence illegally. So I hope I've been able to answer that question.
I believe you have. Thank you. So another question from Audrey. Hannah Audrey says, please, I have a question with respect to those who send you emails with a link to LinkedIn that they have observed the organization you work with and have created a branding video or advert to improve your visibility. Is it safe to use these links, especially if it's sent to your work email?
Okay, so this is email sent with a link to LinkedIn. They have observed your, okay, I believe, Ms. Hannah, I believe I've received an email like that. It was from an organization seeking to what's the word? They wanted to recognize me for my efforts in contributing to the groups of law students, basically. And there was, I would advise you to go on Google yourself and check out the organization that is sending you that email. Do they seem legit? Do they look like people of respectable organizations? Now, if it's a link that they created of a branding video or advert to promote your visibility, and you're familiar with this organization, or you've checked them out on Google, and they look like an organization of reputable standard, I believe you can go ahead with it. If it's, this is a very dicey one, because most times, most organizations, because they know that people treat these things with importance, they guise their threats or cyber attacks under these things. And once they've infiltrated, once you've clicked on that link, you've been given access to the information. That is why it's important that every email you receive from an unknown source, especially through your official work email, you either cross-check it with the company if they subscribe to a newsletter or that organization's newsletter or the organization updates, or you check out that company on Google. You check out if the company is legit, you check out news on that company, if there has been indications on anybody that this company has hacked them or has potentially threatened their data, then you can proceed to engage with the company. But if you're not sure, I advise you don't, because most links sent to your email, the email is the fastest way to infiltrate an organization, because the email has email addresses of other employees, email addresses of your clients, email addresses of third parties that you're engaging with, even has potential documents that were scanned to the email that don't need third parties having access to it. So you have to be very, very careful and mindful about what you put on your email or the links that you click to on your email. So I hope that has been answered, Miss Hannah Audrey.
Now, another question is, on your presentation on what changed after COVID. Now, most firms Yes, most law firms, especially big law firms, they've now begun moving their data to the cloud to make facilitation easier in order to share and collaborate, right? However, most of the times when that data moves to the cloud, it becomes more difficult to control, and it even becomes more difficult to prevent data loss. On that aspect, what can one do, or what can that particular law firm do in order to ascertain a protection of their data?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. So the answer to that is the fact that there are potential cyber threats or data threats to online data doesn't mean we cannot make use of these platforms. And like I said during my presentation, the best thing to do is to have an organization set up a software that would protect the data. So there's this recent document, I think it's called Google Doc. Now, Google Doc does not allow external parties that do not have access to that document to either edit, copy, or paste, or extract documents from that particular, extract words from that particular document. Now, you have some websites that you log on to, and you're trying to make a research. And because of the information you've gotten there, you want to copy from the website and paste on your Word documents to continue your research work. However, that website doesn't let you copy out of that website. That's there's a software that does that. It doesn't let anyone tamper with the information that is there because the document is sealed. Now, for cloud, all companies that put up their system on the cloud, their job is to ensure that the cloud is protected, or the cloud has some form of software that will protect it. So for your company that is putting up its information on the cloud, there should be a software or a limited access to that cloud. Not everybody, not all the employees should have access to the cloud. If it's a cloud that has to do with documents relating to the client, only the people working on those documents or the supervisors in charge of that document or that information should have access to it. The cloud is very vast, and a lot of people there are very potential threats to it. Once it's on the online stream, potential hackers can hack into it. But that is why this data encryption is important. You mask the data in such a way that even where threats or potential hackers come on, they do not understand what the data is talking about, and they can't have unauthorized access to this data. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Now, before I move on to Hannah's second question, Christopher would like to share his sentiments, and followed up by a question that says, with the increasing policies and moves by the FG to clamp down digital rights and data privacy after the COVID-19, like the Twitter ban and the social media regulations bills, the secret monitoring of citizens' accounts, what can we do to solve this issue?
All right, so this is a very interesting one because it's been something that a lot of lawyers here in Nigeria and in most parts of the world have been clamoring against. That is government monitoring your citizens. However, you must understand the government's intention of doing so, because there are potential threats even among the citizens that can disrupt the government's peace, or the country's peace rather, or can lead to insecurity. I mean, there's certain exchange of data between certain citizens and individuals that need to be monitored. How do you think that most organizations or most government agencies like the police, the military, are able to clamp down on kidnappers, on robbers, or people, or hackers, for instance, that are perpetrating different crimes around the country? It is because they are constantly monitoring the activities that are carried out by their citizens. Now, on the other part of it, as to the restricting bills or the restricting laws that are being put down by our government, that can be protested. There are various avenues to speak up against it. I mean, it happened here in Nigeria when Twitter was banned sometime, and a lot of people spoke up about it. Why would the president decide to ban Twitter? It's a restriction of freedom of speech, and you cannot guarantee, give people the right to speak freely in the constitution, which is the ground of the country, and then go ahead to ban softwares or applications that allow people to speak freely
it's a contradiction of intention by both the government and the lawmakers, right? So there was advocacy against it, and the Twitter ban was lifted. But the fact that the government can boldly do that means that most of these governments don't regard that freedom of information to an extent. And there are various restrictions too. Now, this is hinged on for the social media regulation bills. I believe the intention of the lawmakers is to restrict the level of infringement of your neighbor's rights, because your right starts and stops where the right of another person begins. So there are certain words or there are certain information you cannot pass across so that you protect the interest of your neighbor. For instance, the core principle behind the legal profession when dealing with clients, as we have in most of our laws, is confidentiality. There's a reason why the law emphasizes that lawyers treat clients with confidentiality, because you cannot possess the data of a third party or another person who speaks to you in confidence and then relate it to another person without their express permission. So assuming I'm advising a client on a particular matter, and then I go to someone else and I talk about this thing, you don't know if this person has an avenue using the information I give the person to affect the interest of my clients. So I believe it's like a balance of both worlds when we talk about social media regulation bills, to ensure that people don't expose data or say things that would affect the other person or say things that would affect the government. Although some governments do this to avoid criticisms, which to me, citizens can protest against, but you just have to deal with it as it comes. For governments that have embraced the freedom of information, it's very laudable, it's very commendable. But for governments that are yet to do that, citizens, that is our role as lawyers, we can advocate that the scope of our rights to freedom of speech be increased so that we can have, the freedom of relating and speaking up our minds as individuals. And then the secret monitoring of citizens' accounts, that is to ensure that no fishy business is going on between citizens in their country. So you just have to ensure that you're living as, in alignment with the laws that are being provided. That is why instances we are lawmakers, when you're interpreting a particular section of a bill or a law that has been passed, you ensure that you interpret it in such a way that you're protecting the interest of the citizens and not just that of the government. I hope that has answered your question, Christopher.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Like it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Hannah has a second question. It says, okay, they say, how safe is it to use free online portals to convert documents from PDF to Word? And yes, from PDF to Word, etc.
Okay, so Anna, I don't advise you do that, because most of these online portals or online websites, online applications that they're not secure. And there's something I must share with you. If you are doing a Google search, please confirm you can still see my screen. Let me share something with you right now. Miss Lillian, can you see my screen?
Yes, I think we can all see the screen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's say I want to Google, what should I Google? Let's say I want to Google what the meaning of a hyperventilation is. Okay, let's say I'm Googling Hyundai Motor Company, right? Now, if you can see from my Google search, I think this is affecting it. But if you can see from my Google search, you see that, I don't know if you guys can see this part. Okay, hold on. All right. Now you can see this, right? You can see where my cursor is, right? So this is HTTPS. If you can see it, just comment on the chat box so you can see it. So each time you visit a website, okay, thank you very much. Each time you visit a website, And the website you're logged onto does not have this S after the HTTP. It means that website is not secure. This website that is the Nigerian Motors website is secure, which means that this website has a particular software that protects. Sorry, I think I just saw that you guys are not viewing my screen. Okay, perfect. So I believe it can be seen now. So I googled Nigerian Motors, and this is what I entered basically, and this is what came out. This is the search results I got. So if you see a website and it comes out as HTTPS //www. and the rest of it, right? It means that this website is secure. It means that there's a software here that protects whatever data I'm presenting on this website. So let's assume I want to lay a complaint, and here I want to contact them here, and I want to make inquiries, and I have to provide my information, my email address or my phone number. It means that is very secure. So there's this third party requirements that entails that whatever information I provide, if that information is leaked, I can hold Hyundai responsible. Now let's see if I can find another website that doesn't have the HTTPS. Now the HTTPS, that S just stands for secure. So if you're in a research and you don't see what should I call? Let's see. You don't see the S on it. It means that that website is not secure. Whatever you're doing on that website is absolutely not secure. So it's not advisable that you. Okay, so this is a Sites for Me application. This is an online reference website that allows me to reference materials through Sites for Me, right? That does proper referencing. And so that particular application has the HTTPS on it and allows me to do the research. But most of the follow-ups don't have secure websites. So it's not advised that you make use of such websites. Okay, so for your question, I believe it was Hannah that asked the question. I believe it's not safe to do so. The best thing for you to do is use a legit website or an online portal like ACArB. ACArB River or ACArB PDF is very legit. They protect their users' data. You have Grammarly, you have Microsoft Word. They are also very legit. But if you can download the apps on your phone, it's better than making use of them online. Your data is a bit protected with these apps because the application comes with software that protects the data to an extent of their users. So I believe that answers your question, Hannah.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much, Hannah. Ms. Lillian, are there any more questions?
Just a moment, I'm still browsing through.
Okay.
Okay, I don't think, oh, okay, there's another question. Okay, it just says, looking at the factors which make it difficult to adhere and try to enforce the HIPAA or the HIPAA. For instance, the employee training and the evolving technology, specifically here in Africa, it becomes so hard because economically we don't have the manpower or even the financial muscle to keep on maybe having multiple risk assessment and other employee training that may take place. What could be a remedy to help, or do we stay stuck while waiting to evolve or gain the financial muscle or the manpower?
Okay, so now you're talking about HIPAA as an application, especially for companies. It's a must-have, right? So it's not a question of if you can afford it or not. It's something that is very important if you are looking to protect the data of your employees. Now, for countries where, or for institutions where affording things like that can be a problem, you can decide to use the ones that are not so expensive. Better still, you use applications or softwares that don't cost you anything. You use softwares that don't cost you anything. These are softwares that you can use to encrypt your data. You don't necessarily have to pay money for these softwares to encrypt your data. All you have to do is get an expert who can work on the software and encrypt your data to ensure that it's protected. At the very least, you would have to pay the experts, right? You would definitely have to pay the experts for the job the person has done. But inadvertently, it's important that you have a means that you're able to protect the data of your employees or members of your company or you as an individual. If economic downturn is a reason for you to not be able to do this, especially with the need to train members of an organization on how to properly secure the data, you can look for sponsorship. You can look for organizations that are willing to invest in your company to help train your employees. You can look for people that are willing to invest in cybersecurity or data security. They would go a long way in helping you achieve that, irrespective of the economic downturn. So I believe that answers the question.
Okay, well, we're still waiting for the response. Are there any more questions?
You're most welcome, Wisdom. You're most welcome.
Okay, Ms. Victoria, I don't think we have any more questions. At this juncture, I would just like you to just sum up your question review poll.
All right, thank you, Lillian. I would say it's been an absolute pleasure. I must say, doing this with the Association of African Law Students. I want to say a big thank you to you and your team for inviting me, for giving me the platform to learn and teach at the same time. It's been an amazing experience, and the questions have shown me that the participants are really eager to learn, and I would advise you, please, always include measures that will do so. Please do so for all the data that either affects you as a person or affects you and your company. Now, the very first step to start with is changing your password. That good old password you've been using for all your social media accounts. Please kindly go and review them and try and change your password at least once in every 2 years to ensure that your account is not being monitored. And if at all any other person has reviewed your password, they don't have access to it after a couple of times, right? As a lawyer, it's your duty to be inclined and to have good knowledge about recent trends in the legal profession. And the recent trends are revolved around technology. I mean, a lot of us are familiar with online dispute resolution mechanisms, right? Now, arbitration can be done online, mediation can be done online. If you don't have the requisite knowledge on how online platforms work, you will not be able to meet the needs of your clients. And as a law student, if you don't make good use of online platforms to connect with people, you would not grow professionally. I mean, I wouldn't be speaking on this platform if ALSA didn't invite me or ALSA didn't have a Zoom webinar or organize a webinar for the interest of impacting the lives of other law students. So try and be a part of the change, try and be a part of the recent trend. It would boost you far, it would take you far in advancing your legal career. Thank you so much once again, James. Thank you, Ms. Lillian. Thank you to all the members of ALSA. Thank you to all the participants. It's been an utmost pleasure being with you. Thank you so much. Over to you, Ms. Lillian.
Thank you so much, Ms. Victoria, really for blessing us with this webinar. I believe that from today onward, we have seen that in order for us to enjoy the times that have moved, that is the post-COVID era, still using technology, there is a way that we can still use we can still share data while securing it. Now, the webinar has been very insightful and fruitful. Hopefully, all of us will go and change our passwords and try improve in the most level that we can. And we've really learned a lot from this. Mr. James, would you like to add any words or any closing remarks? Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Lillian. And thank you so much, Ms. Victoria, for this wonderful and insightful webinar or lecture that you've just given us. Actually, I have really learned a lot. And, you know, I'm a victim of those persons who always want to use one password for all their activities, you know, on Google, either because I don't want to spend much time thinking about which password did I actually use for this website. And I realized it disadvantages when my Facebook account was hacked. Actually, it was my Instagram that was hacked because I linked my Instagram to my Facebook account with the same password. It affected my Facebook account automatically, and I couldn't access it. So from there, I was like, "Whoa, there's a loophole in my dealing." So actually, I decided to use the password with my new account that I have now. So you've actually taught me a lesson, a very great one, and I've learned a lot in this webinar. I can't wait to have you again on any area of law moving forward or in the future. I've really learned a lot, and I like your mode of presentation, your speaking pace, and your line of presentation, because other people just like to be lecturing without checking as whether or not the attendees are following. And I think it was very interactive. I really enjoyed the questions that were asked and the way you answered them. I'm very impressive, and God bless you so much. Thank you. And to everyone who are, yes, thank you so much. And to all the attendees, thank you. God bless us all. Bye.
Thank you so much, James and Lillian. I'm definitely looking forward to another time with ALSA. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much.